Hi, I am Skumbuzo Kumalo and this is my story. I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. Growing up in Zimbabwe was amazing. The sun was always out and there were children running around playing outside every day. Unfortunately, my life wasn't always like that. At a young age, I always knew about my sexuality, but I never truly accepted it. I just thought it was a phase and that it would eventually pass. Being a part of the LGBT community was rough where I lived. I was so afraid and unable to tell anyone about my true self because of the punishments that would have been brought upon me. At one point in my life, there was a group of men who chased me down the street, and another time where a group of men beat me. Despite the beating I got, there was no way for me to get the medical attention I needed. To get into a hospital, I would need to have a police statement, which was hard for me to get, which I was unable to get because in my country it is illegal to be gay. Everywhere I would go, I would face some type of torture. It felt like my dignity was slowly being ripped away from me. I had no respect or even the confidence in myself anymore. I left Zimbabwe because of all the devastating actions put towards the community I was a part of. I was just done living like that. I seriously needed to leave. To be able to move and to live in the UK, I had to go through an asylum process. In one of the interviews, one of the men asked me, "Can you live in another city where you can hide your sexuality?" This man literally asked me to hide the fact that I love a certain person, which is beyond the fact ridiculous. Finally, after all the interviews, the immigration office decided whether or not my case was factual and if I could receive refugee status to enter and live in the UK. I found myself homeless at one point, and I had to go to the police station where they took me to a detention center, where I was supposed to be removed from the UK and sent back to Zimbabwe. This triggered so many miserable memories, and I thought killing myself would be the best option rather than face the type of people back home. If I could ask of one thing living here, it would be not to detain people, because being in a detention center is the worst place to ever be. Once I received my refugee status, it was such a relief, like the weight of the world was finally lifted off my shoulders in an instant. I felt settled because there was no way for me to imagine how my life would be in Zimbabwe. I no longer worry about all the actions I faced back home. I feel safe here, secure. After this long journey, I am happy to say that I can finally fulfill my dreams of having an education, attending university, and having a family.
Hey Noah, is it okay if I ask you a few questions on LGBT women in today's society?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, my first question is, why is it so hard to accept people from the LGBT community because they're just out of the social norm?
I feel like, especially in the modern days where social media is a really big part of young teenagers' lives, and as you grow up, you're a part of social media, which is hard to escape since we live in a first world country. I feel like people who scroll through their Instagram feed or even just their Facebook feed, or even just someone who just walks down the street and they hear someone saying, "Oh, that's gay," automatically they would think that being gay is a bad thing and being gay is out of the social norm. I feel like when you're growing up, the things and the people around you are what influences you. So, for example, if your parents don't really accept it, or if your parents are kind of off or iffy about it, it'd be something that you'd hear on the regular day basis, which would obviously influence your thoughts and ideas on the homosexual people and people who are homosexual. Is that good?
Thank you, Noah, that was really good. So I'm gonna ask my second question, is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you think leaders in Zimbabwe should reconsider making same-sex couples legal, or do you think they even have a say at all?
I definitely believe that the leaders in Zimbabwe should definitely reconsider on making same-sex couples legal because it is who they are. They can't change it. And no matter how many times they're gonna imprison them, no matter how much times they're gonna torture them, no matter how many times they're gonna tell them stop being gay, they're still gonna be gay because that's who they are. That's their personal identity. And I feel like the leaders should take that into consideration, that people should accept who they really are. It's like, for example, if they go up to leaders and tell them you can't be a leader anymore because you suck, they're obviously not going to step down and stop being a leader. They're going to continue being the great leader they are, and they're going to have that pride in them to become a better leader. So I feel like they definitely should reconsider making same-sex couples legal because that's who they are.
Thank you, Noah. Okay, I'm going to ask you the third question. Do you think that is possible in the future to even accept women who are LGBT status?
It's actually really sad how the LGBT community and the LGBT women are considered out of the norm, and I do believe I see a future in a lot of people accepting the LGBT women. Either if it's they meet someone who's LGBT, or either if it's they just gain more knowledge about LGBT women. Because obviously, if you meet someone who is LGBT and you see that they're just a normal person, it definitely will change your mind and what you believe.
Thank you, Noah. Is it okay if I ask you the last question, please?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, how was it like growing up for you as an LGBT person, obviously?
I'd like to really thank my community, and I really want to thank my parents for being really accepting of who I am. I really am happy that I'm lucky that I grew up in a really nice city where LGBT people are really accepted and they're motivated to be who they are, especially just walking along Davie Street is really inspiring for me. And it was a really good experience. That's why it's really shocking to hear that things like this happen around the world where they don't have freedom to be who they are.
Great. Thank you so much, Noah.
Yeah.
In Canada, where it is legal to be whoever you want, it is only shocking to hear that in other parts of the world they are not gifted this freedom. This leads into a proposed topic of the stigma against women and the LGBTQ community.